I'm Jeanette Pincus, and I've got the honor of getting to interview Bill Finkelstein about the Dallas kosher. At first, I'd like to ask you, Bill, what is the purpose of Dallas kosher?
Well, its purpose has and is evolving. I believe that originally, when it was the Reverend Fromm and a couple of rabbis, it was simply to make sure that there were kosher chickens for the families that ate kosher in Dallas. And as the community grew, there was also the thought that kashrut needed to be sold. It needed to be encouraged. And the rabbis were encouraging us to do more to get the people in the community to observe kashrut. So I would say that today, in addition to giving people choices, it's also to educate and to be very non-judgmental and attempt people to look at kashrut, whether it's a way of life or it's people who are, as we like to say, not yet kosher, who understand the importance of having kashrus in the community in terms of attracting academicians at the universities, rabbis, teachers, etc., or get other families to relocate to the city. They understand it's a necessary part of the mosaic that makes up a vibrant Jewish community.
How did you get involved?
Well, at the time I got involved, which was, 88, 89, the organization was being operated out of Thelma and Bernie Gerson's desk drawer, and there were very few kosher options. And the folks that were running it on the lay side had been doing it for many years, and they wanted a new generation to get involved. And so I think I drew the short straw.
Who would you say was involved at the beginning like this?
Oh, wow. Manny Hoppenstein, Saul Kaplan, good gracious, let me think. I actually wrote them down. Harold Rubin passed away. Bill Jason, Thelma and Bernie Gerson. Those were the
main ones.
And Saul Kaplan, if I didn't mention him a moment before. He was a treasurer emeritus for many, many, many years. A wonderful group of people that dedicated themselves to promoting kashrut in the city.
Mm-hmm. When you were approached to do that, who else came on with you?
Well, we got together in somebody's living room, and I pulled together a few of my friends who I knew supported kashrut. And it was Leonard Epstein, who was very active at Sharet Israel, Stan Rothstein, who is probably a member of Anshe and Chabad of Plano today, Steve Rosenberg, who had been at Tiferet and was at Sharet Tefillah, Daryl Meyerowitz, who was with Chabad of Dallas, and me, and I was with Sharet Tefillah. So we sort of had a good cross-section of people in the community that were interested in promoting kashrut.
Now, I know that when you all took it over, you wanted to expand it, and you had mentioned who was a kashrut supervised at the time.
When I came on the scene, Rabbi Max Zucker of blessed memory, who was for many, many years the rabbi of Tiferet Israel, I guess was the spiritual guide, the halakhic authority in the city, but it was very much of a part-time situation. There was also Rabbi Saul Pearl, who was the ritual director at Tiferet Israel, and he worked part-time for the Vada Kashrut. So we didn't have a whole lot of resources or a whole lot of income.
Mm-hmm. I know you had mentioned when the Gersons were involved, you said there was a great fundraiser that was a great story.
Well, I don't know about being a great fundraiser. It's a pretty interesting story.
Yeah.
The sole fundraising activity that they had back then was a raffle. And Thelma and Bernie Gerson probably sold 95% of the raffle tickets. I don't remember what the surprise, what the winner was. Maybe it's a quarter of kosher beef for your freezer or whatever. It didn't much matter because the two of them would corner you and you could not get away without buying at least one raffle ticket.
When it did start, I guess when you started, who was the caterers, places where you could get things that were kosher?
As I said, there were limited options in the city at that time. There was, of course, Mr. Saul Reichman's butcher shop, and who had a fellow working for him that everybody loved named Lorenzo. And that was the principal place. At Finkelstein's, we had some sort of a unique relationship where we certified some, but not all, of his products, which was sort of a compromise that would not pass muster by today's standards. And it's certainly during Passover time, but we certified Shep's Dairy and Daisy Brand Sour Cream, and then we certified one caterer, which was Mrs. Sobel, who I'm sure many, many people know and loved her.
How about time? Were there any hotels?
At the time, one. The Fairmont would do kosher catering. Now, of course, we have more. The Westin invested the money to put in a kosher kitchen. We will go to other hotels that don't have a kitchen, and we have to go through a somewhat laborious process of making sure that they're properly cleaned or koshered, and that they retain kosher plates or rent them from a kosher caterer. And we'll supervise events at numerous venues today, but two hotels, Fairmont and Westin, have full-time kitchens. They just come in, open the key, open the door, turn on the light switch, and they're ready to start cooking.
And how many caterers do we have now in the community that?
Well, in addition to the hotels, we have 3 other caterers that under DK supervision.
And who are they?
Let's see. Well, there's Simcha Catering. That's Lowell Michelson. Then there's Taste of the World that operates out of Kiba. And then there is, oh boy,
Is it kosher palate? No.
Kosher Palette as well as a catering. Palette Catering is the name of it.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. It sounds to me there's some challenges with this in the community. Is there anything that comes to mind working with, and also I imagine you all have expanded too on supervision of things.
Oh, we clearly have. I think the DK or the VOD certifies about 70 or 80 accounts now, maybe 90 accounts. But there are a number of what I think what are more important for the community are retail accounts. And so there are various options. There are 7 restaurants, a yogurt shop, et cetera, in the city where people can go sit down and enjoy dinner. And there's competition in the grocery world. It's not one butcher shop with one set of shelves of products there. So it's expanded greatly.
That's
I mean, we have, I think, in excess of 800 families who are members of the organization and give donations and dues to us to help support our activities.
That is wonderful. Do you guys have a board also?
Yes, there's a lay board, and in addition to that, we have an advisory committee, which has a rotation of different rabbis who will give advice to our 2 full-time rabbis. So it's very much a lay-governed organization with membership, as I said.
Well, it sounds like you've had great successes on here. Is there any like special remembrance or stories that come to mind?
Yes, and by the way, you asked me about who we supervise. We're very proud of the fact that we supervise the food program in the JCC, which provides a senior lunch program that's government subsidized. We're very happy to be the certifying agency for what used to be called Meals on Wheels. I think it's called Home Delivery now, that's run by JFS. And we supervise a kosher option at the new Legacy, which took a tremendous amount of work in cooperation with a lot of different parties to make that come about.
That's wonderful, because I know one of the main things is being inclusive, that everyone feels like they can.
That's exactly right. The days of somebody being asked to attend a fundraiser or a banquet of some sort and being given airplane food is over with. Most people opted out because it was just way too awkward, and they didn't feel like they were being included with the rest of the crowd. And I'm happy to say that today, virtually every Jewish organization that has a fundraiser or a banquet hosts only kosher food. And quite frankly, the Federation was sort of the pace setter in that. They formed a task force many years ago. I think Steve Walton chaired it. And they came back and said, this is the right thing for the community. And once the Federation decided that its events would be kosher, everybody else followed along.
That's great. Okay, so I want to make sure that there were some special stories and remembrances that you share with us.
Well, I've already mentioned the annual saga of selling tickets, and that was pretty interesting. What to me was the most memorable and really changed the direction of the organization was back in, 90, 91. We knew that people who were not yet kosher or just looking at the idea, maybe hadn't koshered their home but were buying kosher meat, they wanted more options. They were used to going into a nice, bright grocery store, and if they wanted to pick up a steak, they wanted it in a tray with saran wrap on it, just like everybody else is doing it. So we had a meeting with the CEO of Minyards, who was the son-in-law of Mr. Minyard, named Sonny Williams. And we talked the issue through with him. At the time, they had a store at Preston and Forest. And we talked about making their bakery kosher. I mentioned earlier how limited our options were at the time. Worked through those issues, not a problem. Then we started talking about how can we get deli products. People want to be able to get some sliced turkey or pastrami to make a sandwich or do their kids' camp luncheons, etc. And we ended up putting in a very small counter with some separate facilities. And I'll never forget that we did the deal on a handshake, and it was weeks, if not months later, before we even figured out what the charge would be. It was just, this is needed in the community, and Sonny Williams saw an opportunity to attract and to serve the Jewish community. And so from Minyards, it then went to Albertsons, and it then went to Tom Thumb, and now there's 2 Tom Thumbs that have full kosher bakeries, and it's expanded beyond deli. I mean, it's a full butcher shop now, with cooked foods as well. And in addition to them, we have a K-Market and a full-time kosher grocery store with the butcher shop in it. So there are many, many opportunities. And as I say, a typical mom that's got limited time to do shopping, well, when she goes to the grocery, she wants to get her eggs and her macaroni and cheese and her lettuce and her tomatoes. She also wants to get bread and a pound of sliced turkey. And she didn't want to make 2 stops. And that was the direction that we took, and we think it's been very successful.
It's wonderful. Anything else that you'd like to share with us?
Yes, I think Dallas is very fortunate in that there is one certifying authority in the community, that we have buy-in from all of the congregations that are supportive of kosher, which is almost everyone. No one is against it, mind you, but the ones who are really urging it on their congregants. And the standard that we follow is high enough that virtually everybody says this is good. And we have the support of a wide range of observant, or not yet observant, people. We have support from the Chabad, Hasidic side of the community, likewise from the modern Orthodox, likewise from the Sephardic community, and very importantly, the conservative congregations are supportive of what we do. We have one standard. Many cities have 2 or 3 certifying agencies, and they're dueling for business, and one's arguing one is better than the other. We have one standard.
Okay, Bill, thank you so much.
My
This is
pleasure.
just a wonderful organization, and it's wonderful that the Dallas community has Dallas Kosher here. But thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for everything that you've done for it.
Okay,
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.